Thank you, everyone. The reason I'm standing here today is because of the great teachers and the faculty like you and the great education system that we have in India. I think there's a saying that if you can drive in Indian roads, I think you can drive anywhere. I think it applies to education as system as well. If you studied here, I'm sure you'll be the most adaptable person for any situation that would come, and you'll be able to adapt any situation like Industry 4.0 or anything else. So I have my hope for that, and I have my confidence on that as well with this. So, slides, please. So what I'm going to talk in the next 20 minutes is about the future. No, actually, I'm going to talk about what's happening now in one of the areas that's in the machine learning and artificial intelligence, and how AWS is actually, how some of the customers of AWS is actually using that day in India as well as across the globe. Before we talk about it, I think if you look at okay, the pace at which the technology is changing, I think we all witnessed it. 20 years back, the kind of jobs that we had, I think now that they're slowly changing, right? So what would happen 20 years down the line? Maybe the jobs could be different, but the kind of skills are going to be slowly changing. I think even the kind of discussion that we are having today, these are like foundational and important for us to be able to start thinking on those lines, and I'm sure that will happen there. If I look at as an architect, I've been working with AWS as an architecture space. So what I've been seeing in the architecture space is, we've been seeing those machine-centric architectures all these years with web, mobile, desktops and servers are coming up there. But slowly, if you look at it, you're actually going into the human-centric technologies and architectures. So, which means the consumers, thanks to geo, where the speed of internet, or the cost of internet, or the breadth of internet is actually getting better across India. So which means you have more consumers, more customers, more students, and organizations are actually finding more innovative ways of consuming and creating the content. So when we have such things, I think we got Mr. Amit talked about how data is actually kind of accumulating and how we need to use them wisely. So all these organizations are constantly finding themselves in innovating themselves and finding ways how they can actually bring innovative content to the customers in this fast-paced world. So with that, there is one organization in our context, Manipal Global Services, as you all know, one of the eminent institutions according to MHRD. So they've actually moved 70% of their workload to the cloud, whether it's from campus management systems or the virtual classrooms, or about learning management systems, or some of the student engagement activities there. So according to Mr. Bala, from the CIO of Manipal, what he says is that by moving on to the cloud, this not only kind of brings the innovative culture, the ability to respond quickly to the market needs, or to be able to experiment quickly, and to be able to test fast, fail fast, and then step back and do it iteratively. All these sort of things are possible, not only as a culture. I mean, for a culture to build, you have to have tools, you have to have the processes, you have to have a strong willingness to move to the next one. All these things combined, where you can actually bring that kind of innovative culture. Manipal is one of the examples of how they're actually leveraging the cloud computing in the way that they're actually experimenting or enabling the business with our business of education, let me put it that way, with technology that they have. I'm going to spend next few slides on the artificial intelligence, not much on artificial intelligence, but more on the machine learning. You all heard of machine learning and deep learning, how they're kind of evolved in the recent years, and how some of the companies have actually pioneered on using them in government, in education, and especially in other areas as well. If you look at Amazon, one second. Okay, before I go into it, let me just give you a brief about the Amazon Web Services. We are part of the big retail platform that we, Amazon.in or .com. And we also have like thousands of partners who are actually helping other customers across the globe within India as well. Most importantly, in the education space, we actually not just education and research, let me put it that way, where we actually maintain a lot of petabytes of the open data. Let's say some universities wanted to do some kind of research. They obviously have the funding and then the grants and then the skill set to be able to do the research, but finding the right relevant data is also very important. So we actually host petabytes of data, which are actually contribution from other customers who wanted to make them available freely for others' usage. So that can be, anybody can use them there. So that's the open data that we have there. And more importantly, while we have these customers who are constantly innovating and finding new ways of doing things, obviously they would need far more skilled people and different skill set that they would require. So while we are contributing to the organizations, enabling them, we do have programs like EdStart and AWS Indicate, which will kind of help in building that skill set at a ground level, collaborating with the universities or colleges or even with schools. We'll talk about those a little later. So let me just jump on to some of the use cases. I think this we talked about it when Mr. Amit was talking about recommendation technology. So some of you may have used the Amazon.in or .com. Whenever you chose a product to buy, you probably would have seen that bottom corner where it says people also looked for these. So all this came because of the machine learning algorithm at the back end kind of suggesting what should be put up there. Okay, so this can be applied to even the education system as well. We all know that we have these content management systems and learning management systems. There is one organization, Coursera, that you all know, has about 2,000 online courses, and then Harvard and a few other, lot of universities actually contribute to the creations. So they actually built a similar recommendation technology as well. So you are actually building something similar to it for your own environment, because learners today, I won't call them as students, I would call them learners, because a student can be found in any age group in these days. Everybody wants to upgrade their skill set, whether they are working professionals or 50-year-old or 5-year-old. Everybody's looking at ways of doing things, and they're not just looking at four walls or distance mode kind of a learning, but it's more of a blended learning, having access to the 24/7 access to the learning tools. So when you have these learning management tools, it's important to utilize these kind of recommendation tools. But okay, so we're talking about the recommendation engines, and then we talked about machine learning. Does it mean that do I need to have the machine learning expert or the data science expert sitting with me to be able to do all that? Yes, until now, but over a period of time, with the advent of cloud computing, with a lot of automation, with AWS and a couple of other cloud providers, the way that we kind of simplify the way that you use the artificial intelligence, the way that you predict an outcome, the way that you actually start leveraging some of the machine learning is actually going to be simplified there. So, for example, as I talked about the human-centered technology, what that means is that I'm not talking about just the the web sites or the mobile or desktop or server applications, ERP applications. I talk about the conversational engines. You all know today in this world, the kids are spending more time talking to those Siri or Cortana or Google, OK Google or Alexa type ones. So these conversational engines are going to evolve far better with the automatic speech recognition and then natural language processing that is getting evolved over a period of time is actually getting better. In fact, as you may know, sorry, let me just go back. As you may know, the Alexa is actually a conversational engine that Amazon provides, which can be used widely even in the education space. In fact, there is a university called Arizona State University. They've actually built a campus management solution based on Alexa. Some of you, if you don't know what Alexa is, it's about talking to them and asking, hey, Alexa, can you give me when the library opens up? Or can you tell me what this particular subject is about? Or can you tell me what the weather today like? So it answers back on those. You can also build a private skill based on your own topic. Let's say some organic chemistry or some computer science topic that you would want to build a very unique skill set that can be applied into the same conversational engine. When your students are going and asking them, they can actually going to come back on those. In fact, one of our edutech startup, Byju's, use AWS in the backend to provide service to the 15 million students across India and outside. And they actually launched an app and a skill set for Alexa to be able to get interaction to the next level of how the students can interact with that. In fact, there is recent, actually there is a fun fact about Alexa. I don't know what's appropriate to tell that here. Because it's a conversational engine, until I think 2017 data, Alexa received about 250,000 marriage proposals because it can't say anything. But my daughter spends a lot of time talking to the Alexa, playing music or doing some interesting things with that. But it actually can give you a lot more use cases for you as well. You all know that every student is not the same. Some students would love to sit in the front bench and ask you a lot of questions, engage with you. Some students will open only the guides and test papers at the beginning of the examinations. And everybody has their own way of learning things. So finding that learning tools and making the same content available in different formats will actually going to help in this new generation where they're all influenced by technology and various other distractions. So Byju's is one example. I think I'm running late. I'm going to just talk about other areas as well, other use cases where other customers are using it. Mixed reality is one more, and augmented reality. These are the two. To AR, VR actually can be built. You can actually build a very immersive and creative 3D experiences once, even in the education systems as well. Something like, okay, in the so-called business of education, if somebody is looking at building more admissions or encouraging students somewhere from different states, you can actually build a virtual tour of your entire campus. So they don't have to come all the way here. Actually, you can increase that student acquisition rate by actually creating those ones. Or you can actually build a virtual classroom so that, even for organizations where new employees or any employee getting trained, you can actually have the virtual classrooms built for the education systems. Or you can actually build, something like human anatomy for, K-12 students or something else where they can actually, see how it can be done. And this Amazon Cimmerian actually simplifies all those. You don't have to be a VR, AR expert to be able to do it. You don't have to be a machine learning expert to be able to build the recommendation tools. Those are all being done at the back end. Only service is given. Any developer can do it. If you have any requirement, one of our partners can help you do it in case you're looking at it. Augmented reality, rather than explaining it, I'll give you one example of how actually it works. Hopefully the video works here. So it's already there on the Amazon.com app, not on the .in app. It has it, but it actually is only photo-based search, but doesn't have this AR integrated yet on the Amazon.in. But it can also be applicable to the education space as well, in whether you're doing a science projects or whether you're building your own again, campus management solution, you can actually start thinking on those lines. So whatever I spoke so far on the machine learning based tools which are available, those are all simplified and provided as a service to you so that any developer can plug in and make it better. Okay, but at the same time, there is the edge computing which is actually getting better. Like as I said, it's not just those web and mobile devices which are popular. Even those edge devices, the Internet of Things which are coming in, the traffic management. If you look at it, or somebody who's a person of interest is walking by that chaurasta, and then maybe police wanted to look at the person of interest with their person is same as the other one. So the lot of intelligence have to happen in real time in a much faster way. You can't just get the feed from the CCTV cameras and analyze it later the next day and then find out where it was, and by the time the person would have gone already. So some of the deep lens is basically one of those edge computing device where it's just a video camera, but what interesting part is, for the machine learning, the deep learning models are actually introduced or embedded as part of the deep learning one, as part of deep lens. It's actually one of the first video cameras which actually has the deep learning models are actually embedded into it based on MXNet, which means you can do those modeling and inference within the deep lens itself and can get the right data much faster. So I'm actually not going into why machine learning or what it does. I'm assuming that you already have an understanding of it. Apologize if I'm actually skipping those. So far what I just told you is about these simplified, automatically doing it. You don't have to worry about it. But there could be, especially in universities and the research organizations, you may want to just roll up your sleeves and then want to do stuff in the beginning. You may want to pick your own model. You may want to pick your own framework like TensorFlow, MXNet, or Caffe. Whichever one that you are more interested, you want to pick your own framework. You want to build your own data. You want to train your own data. You want to infer. You want to build that inference there, and you want to deploy them on your own. Those are some of those high performance computing system research organizations would actually do that in some of the universities. So for those, we have the choice. The choice is whether you wanted to do it on your own from the scratch, or you want to simplify it and make it happen. It's your choice that you could do. It's even going to the level where with the NVIDIA and Intel and NVIDIA Tesla 100, V100 with more than 120 teraflops, you can actually build your infrastructure where HPC computing or machine learning, deep learning based trainings can be possible on the cloud today. Which means if you are doing an experiment, or if you're doing some research, if you're doing some kind of a project, a science project, you could actually start looking at the cloud, make it much faster, and so that you can experiment faster. Okay, so today the experimentation is actually a very expensive one. Even to do a small experiment, you'll have to think of what can I buy in order to do the experiment. What if the experiment fails? What happens to that? Whatever assets I bought is something we don't know. So that is where the cloud computing will come, where with the pay-as-you-go model, where you don't have to worry too much about having an assets with you. Rather, you're going to spend time on the outcomes and research on that in a much quicker and faster way. Just a little bit on the history of the machine learning at Amazon. It is not just the AWS, but as an Amazon, the recommendation engine, the personalized recommendations that you have seen on the website, the fulfillment inventory, the number of packages that we deliver in a day is like humongous across the globe. So we have to have a much better, efficient supply chain management in the backend to be able to do it. So we have that machine learning algorithms built in within the these warehouses and fulfillment centers to make it even better. And I don't know whether you've seen some of the YouTube videos. We actually are experimenting on the drones, delivering packages autonomously to the respective addresses. Of course, it requires a lot of regulations and other policies, things have to be in place. But at least we are experimenting on those and that. Alexa, that some of you already know. Amazon Go is one more where it's a cashless payment system, or the stores where you can just walk in, choose your product, look at it, and then come back, and then those products will be delivered to you automatically. It's completely a different way of thinking of experience, finding your shopping experience and how you want to go out. I'm going to skip this quickly. Amazon SageMaker is really about, because when you wanted to build some kind of an outcome based on a machine learning model or a deep learning model, so you need to do a lot more things. You need to have a large data sets for you to be able to do a data labeling, cleansing, and picking the right model, right algorithm, tune them, build them, performance tuning. All these things require a huge amount of effort, and it requires a lot of iterations to it. SageMaker comes in between. While you can actually pick your own hardware and then framework to do it on your own, SageMaker also kind of simplifies after that whatever is out there. If you don't want to use the end service like recognition or a Sumerian, you can actually start using the SageMaker, which is more customized. Let's say I want only the data which is in the Pune area, where I want to use it for my own research. SageMaker would be a good example where you can train and model your own one. Digital Globe actually uses it. If you don't know Digital Globe, Google Earth, Google Maps, or all the maps that you see today is actually backend provided by this largest commercial satellite based images that provided by Digital Globe. So they actually use the Amazon SageMaker because they've got petabytes, zettabytes of data that they have to constantly check and evaluate those. Now, just skipping this to the most important part about the Indicate program. AWS has got this Indicate program, which is more about the skilling. It is a institution-driven program where AWS and institution will be onboarded onto AWS as the Indicate partner. As part of it, the institution will actually nominate faculty. Faculties will be trained, and then based on the training, they will actually train their own students. Students will get to learn the Amazon cloud computing courses, which is already prepared, well defined. They can actually go through those trainings, and we will give you some credits, like $75 for every student who is enrolled, and $200 to the faculty who's actually enrolled for it and driving the program as part of the credits within the AWS console, where whatever that they are learning in the big data or AI ML or the normal cloud computing that you are experimenting, you can do that as part of the Indicate program. There are several references. ICT Academy is one of the biggest contributors who are actually driving this program. They've started it last year across several states, and they're doing it this year slightly different. We'll talk about it a bit later. And we also done recently MOU with Benares Hindu University as well as IIT Kharagpur. Apart from what we have seen, those ones on Cloud Research Lab, where students will get to learn machine learning and deep learning based on the services provided by the AWS. IIITB also has this data science lab on AWS Cloud. They're currently using it for their own students. Dr. Sadgopan actually is in charge of that. So this is the ICT Academy's Cloud Literacy Month, which was launched last year across 7 states. About 17,000 students were enrolled, and about 30% of them already completed their courses in the last 4 months time frame. So this year actually they are introducing a slightly modified version based on the learnings that we got. It's called Cloud Masters in 2019, which means that maybe I think the ICT Academy folks will be able to better explain it. But it is really to enable faculty more so that they can enable the students in turn in learning this program. So if you have any questions on it, maybe you can talk to us later or to one of the ICT Academy representatives as well on this. So with that, so I just want to, I think I took longer time than I was supposed to. Apologize. But I just want to give you a glimpse of what the other education institutions or edutech startups are actually leveraging the technologies required, and how the students can actually gain skills apart from what you what they're already getting imparted in their regular academic course. That's the whole message that I want to bring in. I want to thank everyone for patiently listening to me.